Welcome back to another episode of Over the Glass. I am your co-host Ness.
And I am Jay.
Welcome. If you are here from our heated rivalry episodes, this is not going to be focused on that. This is more of our hockey topics outside of gay hockey. This is our regular episode. I hope you guys enjoy some of the things we talk about here outside of the heated rivalry things.
Outside of, we have some gay stuff, but if you want the more in-depth gay stuff related to heated rivalry, we're going to continue to do that in separate episodes. But here's just our general love for hockey with the occasional gay.
Yes. If you haven't started watching hockey, I hope we can help you learn to love the game like we do. So, to start off, wanted to talk about the Olympics because they're coming up in a couple months, and the Canadian team still hasn't really decided which youngster to put on the team between Macklin and Connor Bedard. Sorry, Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard. We've already kind of shared our thoughts about what we think. We're a little biased on this side, obviously.
Spoiler alert.
We would love to see Celebrini in the Canadiens jersey, just to cheer
We're coming
someone on.
as Macklin Celebrini haters. Warning.
Plot twist, actually, we hate him.
But no, for sure. We're totally like on the Mac train. We get it. They're both equally talented. It just looks like Canada had, big problems, totally stacked. Who to choose? And it's like, how about you choose these amazing youngsters that
Yeah.
with like the young fans that are just eating up like Will Mac content. Like, come on. We're serving it up to you on a silver platter that you want more people watching? Maybe put Macklin. It's not just because he's just enjoyable for people. He's actually freaking good as well.
Right. And we've probably mentioned this before, but imagine the team of Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard.
Fourth liner, Connor Bedard.
It's just like insane.
Listen up, Canada. This is your lineup right here.
But whatever. There's probably some politics played into what players they choose for the team. Whatever. But you know us. Everyone here on the Shark side is rooting for Celebrini to get picked. Some of us with sense will say, we won't be butthurt if they pick Bedard. He's equally as good, but we'll be butthurt for personal reasons, not because it's like not deserved. Shang Peng, who is our insider, interviewed Sidney Crosby, asked him about his thoughts about Macklin and like what he's learned playing with him a couple times now or training with him over the off season and stuff. I did want to share this with you guys. I figured out how to do the audio, just so you guys can hear his thoughts because his opinion matters.
He's a number one Celebrini fan.
No, right?
What have you thought of his season this year, and has he made a good case for the Canadian Olympic team, in your opinion?
He's been incredible, consistent. Good at both ends of the ice. So he's producing a ton. He's doing everything that he can to possibly give himself a chance. So I'm sure it's not an easy selection process for everyone involved, but he's definitely proved he's one of the best in the league.
What have you thought?
Yep. Endorsement.
From Sidney Crosby himself. Like, I don't keep up with this guy. I don't keep up with Penguins media or Blackhawks media or nothing. So I don't know if they've asked him similar questions about Connor Bedard. I don't know what he's saying about him. I only know what he's saying about Celebrini because that's our guy. But the fact that, Celebrini grew up a big fan of Crosby and now they're like training together, they've played together a couple times or whatever it is, and he's saying all these wonderful things about him. How would you feel if like your hero is talking you up? That's I don't know. I'd be pretty stoked.
I'm sure he's very excited. We just really wouldn't be able to tell because he's just so like composed, and he's just like, yeah,
He was
that's
like,
what
"Yeah,
we're
that's
doing.
I'm
Of
super
course.
excited." Dude, like
Yeah.
that interview when they were asking him about the teeth necklace, the shark
Hmm.
snoo tradition, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm excited about it," or whatever it was that he said with a straight face. Literally no smile, no smirk, nothing. He said, "Thought it was a good idea. Yeah, I'm happy." Are you?
So I just decided, I want to see, of course it's not, they're still projecting the Olympic rosters, right? And there's a number of people who are like on IR. I want to say offhand that Hellebuck is still injured
Hmm,
or was injured, like folks like that, where of course you're gonna, for like Team USA, you're gonna want like a Connor Hellebuck, even though like there's other goalies that I wouldn't mind having as well, but they haven't really officialized who is making the team. Of course, if someone like him were to be healthy, it's almost like duh, like you wouldn't leave him off the roster. And I looked up just for like Canada, like who were kind of like some projections of who would be in the lineup. This is on the score.com for the forwards for Canada. First line would be like Brandon Hagel with Connor McDavid, and then Braden Point. Second line down, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and Sam Reinhart. Like that's insane. Like the stack of just even that. Like of course, Connor McDavid, he just peaks and bounds, and then you have this like super loaded second line, and then for the third line, Mac, Suzuki, Mitch Marner, and then fourth line, Brad Marchand, Anthony Cirelli, Mark Stone. And then extras like Seth Jarvis, Tom Wilson, and then other mentions like Connor Bedard, Sam Bennett, Mark Scheifele for like Canada. So I mean, they definitely have a lot of good folks to choose from. But maybe we're biased, but Mark Stone is probably going to get injured again before before the Olympics. So
don't even
like
consider him.
and I mean, of course, like, there's older guys like, I mean, Crosby, I think he's an exception to the old guy bit. Like, guy's still going. He's maybe not like tearing it up like 20 years ago kind of game, but he's still very effective. And then, potentially having him on the same line as like Nathan McKinnon, like, dude is like
Insane.
insane. And then, but then, you have Brad Marchand, who is still very effective. I saw earlier today the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Florida Panthers. Like, Florida Panthers are just beyond just horrendous without Matthew Kachuk and Barkov, which are, two of like their big players who help them score and that sort of thing. And they're just like real, like the game ended 7-6 Panthers. Like, it was insane. And I saw this clip of, I guess, the Columbus Blue Jackets were like at their bench and they were, drawing up the play. And
Mhm.
Brad Marchand skates over, is just like, hey, what's going on over there?
He's so
And
annoying.
they like literally turn around and like mean mug him. And I'm like, this pest. But like, he's just like super effective. And I'm just gonna go and just project out what's on here for Team USA. You have Brady Kachuk, Jack Eichel, and Matthew Kachuk. That's pretty insane. And second line down, Jack Hughes, Austin Matthews, and then Jake Gensel. Third line, Matt Boldy, Dylan Larkin, Kyle Connor. Fourth line, Matthew Nyes, Vincent Trocek, Tage Thomas, extras, Jason Robertson, JT Miller, and then additionals Cole Caulfield, Logan Cooley, Cutter Gauthier, Clayton Keller, and Shane Pinto. And first of all, I'm slightly offended that like Jason Robertson doesn't make any of the top 4 lines in this projection. How dare you? But JT Miller definitely deserves to be at the way bottom because bro is doing nothing for my fantasy team. If anything, he needs to just not be on the ice for goals against because that is what he mostly gives me these days. He did. There's a game I think yesterday where he ended up getting like 3 assists, and I was like, I looked at it and I went, nah, that's probably a lie. Because like he just has not been doing anything, and all of a sudden, oh, he's got 3 assists, and I'm like, I'm sure he does.
That sounds like fake news, actually.
This is a lie. The fantasy app is glitching.
This is propaganda.
Who's punking me? But like we get that there's a lot of talent to choose from, but we're biased, so hurry up and choose Mac.
Yeah, because he deserves it. Speaking, if going back to Macklin Celebrini, well, the Sharks in general. I want to move this along to how our Sharks have been doing the past couple weeks, because we always do our recap. The last time we were on here, we were really excited with how they were playing. They had a great November. They started to pick up their play. Askarov really found his game. He was having a heck of a month. I believe he ended it with a win. I think he was the one that played against the Canucks, and he got that win. Right? Anyways, I have him on my fantasy team, so I keep up more with his wins than most people, right? So he was doing great. And whatever happened when the month turned to December, the Sharks kind of fell back into this little rut. The wins and losses have been kind of even. I think they've played 7 games since the last time we hopped on here. They have 3 wins, 4 losses, or something like that. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So 3 wins, 4 losses. 3 of them have been pretty bad. There's been one really good game in there that was like, they played against the Golden Knights. It was an okay game, kind of lopsided for most of it. The Sharks came back, and it looked like they could have come back into the game, force an overtime, but it seemed like they ran out of gas in the tank, and towards the end, the Knights ended up winning that game. The following game, they came back against the Utah Mammoth and absolutely destroyed them. They won 6-3, and I believe that was the game that Will Smith had 2 beautiful goals that everyone was talking about. Like, this kid is insane. Like, how did he pull that off or whatever? And where am I? Oh, yeah. Anyways, they did really well. The losses. The first really bad one was against the Avalanche back in November 26th. I think it might have been the first time, or only like the second time the Sharks were shut out this season. That's wrong. The third. Or something. They haven't been shut out that many times, but whatever.
That one
It
was
happened.
pretty bad, though.
That one was bad. The Avalanche are just in another level. They're insane the way they're clicking, and they're so fast, and their defense is like it was flawless this game. They didn't let anything through, and then of course their goalie, who was playing that game, Blackwood?
Possibly.
Whoever it was, they did what they did, and the Sharks looked atrocious, and it was like reminiscent of the Sharks from last season, where they just couldn't get anything going. They looked really lost out there, and the shots just they weren't going through, whatever. Macklin was interviewed at the end of the game, and he said, it's 6-0. Malinsky, one of the Avs players, is chasing down our guy at the half wall. It's 0-0 in Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final. We need to get to that mentality. And so, even though like these games are atrocious for us to watch and it's very frustrating because you're like just shoot the puck, score something, do something. Obviously we have no control over how they're playing. They're doing their best out there. They are lessons for them. You know, this is still a very young core. They're still learning how to be a winning team. Even though they did have a really good November, they're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna have fallbacks, but it looks like they are picking up the right lessons from them, from the way that they're talking about them in these interviews. Warsawski is keeping them accountable for everything that they need to pick up on. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I mean, I definitely understand early on when we were like really feeling like we were dominating out on the ice, like it's a nice moment to be in, but the reality is this journey is gonna have like ups and downs. Like we're not like projecting up and we're heading 100% of the time in the right direction. Like these like I think a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how a friend of mine sent me the lineup of the roster for like just 2 seasons ago, and it was
Mm.
insane. Look at who we were rostering on this
Mm-hmm.
team, and then you look at this team now, and you're just like you're more hopeful. Of course, they're still like we're still bringing in a couple of folks that we're hoping, like Klingberg, like Letty. There's potential that even more of our defense, because a lot of them are on 1-year contracts right now, that even if things go right for the Sharks, in the sense that maybe we're just outside of the playoffs, like looking in type of thing, even if we find ourselves in like that nice place, which I would be very happy about, we still need to look towards the future. And a number of these guys are going to go. And a lot of it is because we have guys that are in the CUDA pipeline. We're continuing to draft folks. Like these guys, 2-3 years from now, are going to be those defenders that we currently have in our lineup. Those are who we want in the lineup. Like, of course, me and you were huge fans of Ferraro, but every season I'm just like, he might get traded this season. And if he does, it's gonna be upsetting just as because he's a favorite, but I'm gonna understand the reality of it. And if it makes sense, then I'm gonna trust that they make that right decision to do that. And then also, Ferraro, he's getting older, of course, like in like hockey years. That's like, yeah, you're gonna about ready to go over the hump type of thing, but like we also talk about how, as much as we love these guys, we're still very much in the early stages of developing this team for like the long haul of success. And while we're doing that, some of these guys do deserve to go on to other teams, even if they love it here. And Ferraro loves it here. Even if he loves it here, of course, his wife, is from this area. They like welcome the kid. They have a couple of dogs. He bought a home. Like he obviously wants to stay here. And I feel like if he were offered a contract, just knowing Ferraro, I think he would stay. But there comes a certain point where maybe it's management's decision where it's like, yeah, we kind of do need to move on for you just to make room on the roster for the younger guys. Or if he decides, as much as like the team has been doing their best and we have been progressing, he's not getting any younger. And at the end of the day, all these guys want to win the cup. They would love
Right.
to win it with the team that they that they were drafted by, and they enjoy, just like the vibes in the room are just like so high and like so positive, but that's just kind of like the reality of it. So like, but just looking at the roster from like 2 seasons ago to what we have now, and it's like crazy that even though we're struggling, it gives me so much hope to see. And then time and time again, like when I'm like live texting with Nate, during the game, like we're always like Colin Graff, Colin Graff.
Yeah.
We're like huge Colin Graff fans because he is just, even last game when they looked better than like the horrendous effort of like against the Caps. They looked better, but they were still struggling. And who was doing all the right things out on the ice the whole any chance he got was Colin freaking Graf, and he got a special mention from Warsawski that the best player on the ice tonight was Colin Graf. And then you
Yeah.
go back to how we acquired Colin Graf. He wanted to sign here.
Mm-hmm. Free agent. Yeah, it was nice
Yeah.
to see.
He had his pick. People were talking with his agent. They were interested in this guy. And he was like, no, I'm going to San Jose.
Because
And that
I
was when
think
we were like down in the basement. It's like, no, I want to
right.
go there. The basement, I want to go there.
But it's probably because he could see that he was going to get playing time. He saw the people that was in our prospect pool that are going to be coming up, like I'm sure this all plays a factor in where people want to play, and you could tell that he's having a great time here. Going back to Ferraro, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but I feel like this has been his best season playing for the Sharks. So it's going to hurt if it was going to hurt regardless, but it's going to really hurt if and when Greer decides to trade him at the trade deadline. And I feel like the only team I would be okay seeing him on would be the Avalanche, because right now this year looks like they have a really good chance at winning the cup because they look lethal out there. And also he'd be reunited with a couple of his buddies, right? With Burnsy being on the team again, and he played college hockey with Makar. That would be fun to see if they got to be a D pair again. That'd be cute. But that's just sentimental reasons. Yeah, let's see. The game against the Utah Mammoth, when I had mentioned that Smith had a couple of beauties that the whole hockey Twitter was going crazy over because they really were very nice. Shang asked Tyler Toffoli his reaction to Smith's highlight reel, the first goal that he scored. And Toffoli was like, I was open because he was on the ice with him. He could have passed him the puck. He was wide open. He decided to go in and take the shot himself, and he scored, which is good for him, but also like, yeah, the team thing isn't like the team thing would have been to pass it to your open teammate, but that's just the relationship they have. They can tease each other about that. I mean, obviously he's really happy.
He just saw a pair of ankles and he was feeling like he needed to break some today.
Yeah. I think this was also the game that they were honoring Sharky for the Mascot Hall of Fame that he was inducted into earlier in the year. So they were honoring Sharky. Sharky did the puck drop at the beginning of the game, and I remember I missed like the first period and a half or something for this game. I turned it on and I noticed that the fans were booing Sergachev every time that he had touched the puck. And I was like, what's happening? Are we like, because I saw this happening during the Canucks game every time Evander Kane touched the puck, but we have reason for that, right? I understood why that was happening, but I was like, what did he do? Like, are we just like picking a player to boo every game now? I wasn't really understanding, and I asked Nate because I was texting him too, and he was like, oh, it's because during the puck drop, Sharky went in to fist bump him, Sergachev, and Sergachev left him hanging. He just ignored him and skated off.
Hater.
And so the fans took to that. So every time he would touch the puck throughout the entire game, they would boo him. I was like, good for our fans. Good for our fans for sticking up for him.
I love us.
I was like, that's great. I love our fans. Shang asked Will Smith about it. Because obviously you can't ignore it. That arena is getting louder and louder with each game. But Will Smith complimented the Sharks fans for sticking up for Sharky after Sergachev dissed their mascot. He said, I did see that. All fun and games. Yeah, they picked up on it pretty quick. I was kind of surprised. Like, I was kind of surprised too, because I feel like I haven't really seen the Sharks fans being so like in unity about a thing in a while. But it's fun.
The vibes are great, even through the struggles.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and do our ad read real quick. And we'll get back to our topics. So If you don't know, if you're new here, we are being sponsored by DraftKings. The jaw-dropping moments that make hockey hockey. Experience them with experience them all with DraftKings Sportsbook, on official sports betting partner of the NHL. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me State. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. Go ahead and place your bets. I don't know. Do we have games tomorrow?
You probably do.
Well, but this isn't going to come out till Monday, and I'm not sure if I can pull that up. You know what?
Yeah.
It's fine. Place your bets. Just go look at the app. Place your bets. I can't pull this up right now. Okay, in other hockey-ish news, we can go ahead and touch on our heated rivalry episodes that we've been doing. You've done 2 episodes now. I just joined for the second episode. It was really fun. I loved this is new for me, right? Like it's not something that I usually watch or read about, but it's a queer love story in a sense. Well, we're following 2 right now, but I love that for us. I was feeling FOMO last week because you guys got to talk about it and I didn't have a chance to catch the show yet. But I was able to catch up and I hopped on this week and it's been really fun. Yeah.
How are you feeling about? So I want to know, because we did talk about this briefly before it dropped and just like our general vibes about it. And this all kind of came very quickly because I wasn't sure if I was actually going to be able to watch it, given that it was like only available on Crave, which is streaming in Canada, and you can't, even if you have a VPN, you need a Canadian account to like actually purchase the subscription. As far as I can concern, as far as I could have deciphered, because I was really trying. I'm like, I want to make sure I, am able to watch this stuff because, generally speaking, as we already mentioned, like I'm also in the same boat with you. Like, I don't really gravitate towards like hockey romance novels. Like, if there happens to be romance in my hockey, like I'm for it, but I'm not like that genre. I'm not like eating, sleeping, breathing it and stuff. But given that it was made into a TV show adaptation, now we're talking. That's something that I'm going to be interested in. And then, of course, because it was going to be made into a TV show, like I kind of wanted to know a little bit about it. And then I had, we had Elena and then my friend Phil, and, with them talking at me separately about it. And I'm like, I guess I should read this thing because now my hockey friend is interested in it and starting to talk to me about it, and I'm like, man, I need to know what's up. So so we ended up kind of planning everything like a week before we decided to do it, because it was gonna take like Phil lives in like New Zealand, Elena lives in Germany, we're here in California. Like, we are literally like held together very delicately to like plan for recording, that somehow it ended up being able, they were enthusiastic about it. They were interested in making because we are going to be covering, we're going to be doing, we've already dropped the first 2 episodes by this point, and we have 3 more, right? 3 more,
Yeah.
3 more episodes, so 3 more recordings to go. And it's just, I definitely like appreciate the time commitment that everybody has towards this, and it is running alongside our regular schedule for, if you're listening to us now. We decided not to postpone this because it would be like a whole month and some change before we would do this again. And so far it's just been like a lot of fun, and it's also been really interesting to watch. We're well aware that queer romance and hockey, it's not new, but it's also been interesting to kind of see how it is being talked about in other spaces that we're not usually like a part of. And then also there's some chatter about it. So far I've seen positive in relation to non-queer hockey spaces talking about it, but I haven't adventured terribly far because I don't need it in my life. So, but I guess I'm just wondering, given that, initially you weren't sure if you would be able to watch it or join us and everything, but you got to join us for the second recording earlier today. And just like, how do you feel about all of it?
I think I'm still kind of processing it because it feels, to me, it doesn't feel like a huge deal yet. Like, it's just a show. This is my thinking process. It is just a show telling a story, but then, it's a queer story, but then I have to remember, like, it's not just queer, it has to do with hockey, and that's not 2 things you hear about very often. And just from the way I've been seeing it talked about on hockey Twitter, it's people are loving it. Like, the popularity of it has blown up a lot bigger than anyone anticipated, I think. Even like the creators themselves weren't anticipating how people were going to gravitate to it. And I think that has been very nice, like very heartwarming to see. Like, people are actually enjoying this content right now. And like, for as in like our queer perspectives, this isn't really seen very often, where sports and queerness are like fused together and it's seen as a positive. Because a lot of times in these hockey spaces specifically, but like sports in general, when I'm following something, they announce their pride nights and all you see is the negativity, the hate, the bigotry. And it's, we try to take it like people are ignorant or they're just trying to figure out their own lives and they're projecting or whatever it is that they're going through, that they have to spew their hate towards others. And it's just tiring to see. And it's kind of, I mean, it's hard, like we see it all the time. You rarely see any positivity around it these days with the political climate. So I think it's been really nice to see the how good the vibes have been around this. And I think that might have also been a reason why I really wanted to hop on and talk to you guys. Like, all the queer themes that we're getting to discuss is very different than we get to talk about here on this part of the podcast, because it's not just about queerness. Like, we're a hockey podcast and we just happen to be queer. Like, we want to be here for that representation, but we're not like solely focused on that,
For sure. Yeah, when we started recording the second episode for recaps, that was kind of, what I sort of started out with, was talking about how this is kind of what I think we really started all of this for. Not necessarily to like, oh, we'll like break down like queer media and type of thing, but a lot of it is like intersecting of like queer identity, hockey, stuff that, like you said, we're a hockey podcast where we just happen to be queer. But if something like this comes along, it's like we also talk about, representation in media as it intersects with sports, and then other sports as they intersect with like queerness. So we definitely are interested in having these conversations, but I don't know if we necessarily saw ourselves in a position where it's like we get to talk about a TV show that is like very much focused on queerness in hockey and the stories and the lived experiences that, granted, these are, you know, there's like speculation that like, oh, the two main characters of, you know, the Heated Rivalry novel, which is the second one of the series, that, oh, the writer was like inspired by these actual real life people, which she within the NHL, and she has come out and said like, this is not fan fiction for those guys, like please stop, like you know. And it's like, but I get how people, you know, like you will get inspired by certain, you know, and there's going to be maybe some things that remind you of other players and stuff in a healthy way. But it is very much telling stories that are more than likely happening in our day to day that we don't get to see just because of the current environment within the sport. And then on a greater scope, sports in general, queerness in general, things like that. So yeah, it's just been really fun to just see that play out. And yeah, like I think we're gonna go through a draw when it's like all said and done, because
I'm gonna
like,
be so sad. We need more.
But I also want to like, okay, finish your thought.
Oh, I mean, like, I feel like I'm already experiencing that with having to wait every week, you know? Like, it's like,
yeah.
I just want to binge
and
all.
the fact that it's only 6 episodes, which like I'm not going to get too much into like the film industry side of it, but we've seen it in general where it's like these new with the streaming sort of being like the norm these days. And then if you get into conversations with people about like how much it costs and like how certain actors or whatever get paid in regards to like streaming, more times than not, seasons are much shorter. If at most you're getting like 8 episodes, and the fact that we only get 6 with Heated Rivalry just makes it like feel even worse. And it's like, you didn't even give me the 8 that I'm used to.
Right.
And but I wanted to get yeah, but I wanted to get your thoughts in terms of like, because you didn't read the book that is based on. So like I like for the first 2 episodes, so me, Elena, and Phil have all read the book, but Elena has read the whole series. But like up until episode 3, which focuses on a different focuses on people who do show up in Heated Rivalry, but they're not the main focus. They have their own separate, the first book of the series. So the first 2 episodes that we had reacted to, we were very much like in a space of like we were anticipating, because we knew what was coming. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's the part in the book where this, and then you see how it plays out, and then you see the changes that are made, and then you have kind of like a discussion about that. But you haven't read any of the books, so I'm just curious to know how like your experience, because did you even know what you were getting into, as far as like you just went in like blindly?
Pretty much. I saw the trailer. They put out, I don't know how many trailers they put out, but I remember watching one of them.
A lot of like my like algorithm has like I mean, my algorithm on Instagram has always been queerness, hockey, like comedians that are like queer adjacent. Like it's very like, you know, it's not like far gone from what I'm usually looking at. But I don't tend to like gravitate towards, you know, there's like certain like cutesy, you know,
Right.
what I'm getting at. Like it's different, but then also, yeah, that makes sense that that's on my feed.
Right. So like I think one of them made it onto my feed at one point, and I was curious because people were talking about it. So I watched it and I was like, oh, this looks good. Like I feel like hearing or seeing people talk about it, I was like, I was skeptical because I'm like, Another queer show, I feel like it's probably going to be like low budget, or like people aren't going to care enough to put a lot into the actual story or the representation of queerness into it, whatever. I don't know the director. I didn't know he was queer until you guys told me. So I
He's
watched it.
apparently directed and produced Shorzy and Letterkenny.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
um I watched the trailer. I really liked it, and then I was with my girlfriend and I showed it to her and I was like, "Would you be interested in watching this with me?" And she watched it too and she was like, "Oh, yeah, this looks good." Like she's only getting into hockey because of me. Like it's not her thing, but she also I don't even know if she'll be mad if I say this, but she also kind of grew up like writing fan fiction and stuff. So she kind of is in that realm also, reading it and stuff. And I think she was like down to watch it. We both didn't know what to expect, so we finally sat down to watch it earlier this week, and she was really into it. She was like jumping out of her seat at some points and like really reacting, and it's just so funny to watch. But I think it's been really well done. And like we can talk about this more like during the actual episodes we talk about here at Rivalry, but I think the production value is surpassed my expectations. The story is coming along really well. I don't feel like anything feels forced, which is really nice, and I've been enjoying it. I really enjoyed the third episode. It was very cute.
My follow-up question is, how do you feel about the representation in, like we talked about this in the episode 3 reaction, which is the second recording of the Heated Rivalry series that we're doing. I love our like spread of, not only is it like me and you, but then it's also Elena and it's Phil, and we're just coming from you have all these different perspectives and lived experience, and then like cultural and ethnic background, like perspectives, that I think is just like, to me, I've just been enjoying just chatting about it with everybody. But we also got into some stuff with, like, after we were done with the recap, we did like a deep dive thing, which was, some of it was carryover, which is like from the first recording that we just could not get around to doing because we were trying to cover 2 episodes, even though we recorded for 2 hours, it still was not enough time because we just had like so much to say. But in the deep dive, we got into like, queer representation and like, speculation of like, the folks who play these roles, on TV, and just like people's like privacy and not, outing folks before they're ready, even though we have these experiences where we've been subjected to so much queer media that has just like failed us in terms of telling stories and being authentic. And then we moved on to talking about like bi visibility and then the biphobia, in regards to like one of the actors who's playing Scott Hunter in the series, and just his representation, and then why bi visibility and biphobia is still very much like a thing. And then we moved on to highlighting the fact that Ilya Rozanov, who's one of the main characters for the show, and just like the intersections of like privilege that both him and Shane have, but is also like a big source of their conflict with being able to like understand each other and arrive in a place where they can like be together and not feel like all of this, like all the forces around them are like attempting to pull them apart. And then finally, just for me, it's like the biggest thing that I've been enjoying with this show is the fact that the lead actor and the lead character is half Asian, and I go on a whole like bit about that. So if you're interested in that, go check out that episode. But just all the just the different layerings,
Mm-hmm.
and it just has me wondering, like, I almost want someone who's not queer, not into hockey, to watch the show and just get their reaction, because we're very much in this space that I
Mm-hmm.
almost feel like I'm just like super biased that I think this deserves an Emmy. You know, like, it's just because it just speaks to me in so many ways. And then I also am kind of lurking around on the Reddit subreddit, and then even then there's like discussions, and it makes me wonder, like, one of the things, when I was talking about the Asian representation, and I was saying, how Shane is in the book versus how they adapted him in the TV show, and how it like holds more meaning to me and holds more weight into the reason why this relationship can't work, because it's so multi-layered to
Mm-hmm.
me in terms of what we know about hockey at large, the lack of open support for queer folks, the weight of responsibility that Shane feels to be perfect because he is a minority in
Mm-hmm.
a space that's like predominantly white. And yeah, it just makes me feel like I just wonder how this would resonate with people who aren't can't necessarily relate very strongly to a lot of those layering. So all of that to come back and say, like, how do you feel about like the different intersecting layers and how they're like being presented in the show?
I think it is really good storytelling to have all, like you said, all of these layers, because people's lives are complex and it's not just like they're only dealing with one thing and they get through it and that's it. You know, they don't go from point A to point B with one obstacle in their way. I think it's I don't even know how to say what I'm trying to say, but like it makes sense, you know, it makes these characters really real where they have the stress of becoming these professional hockey players and trying to make it be the best in their country for like Ilya, or the best for the representation for Shane. Having to hide their identities because of hockey culture is another stressor that they have to deal with on top of that. Making the Olympics, dealing with the things that they have to there, not being able to show their queerness there because of the laws of Russia. That ties in more with Ilya's problems, but you know, Shane is a little bit affected by that as well because of the way they have to interact while there. And then with what's his face? Scott and Kip with their stories, and you know, we went into depth with it today with not being able to come out because of the hockey culture, but feeling so happy in something that you found with another person. It's so real. Like I feel like I can really relate to that story because of some of the things that I've lived through and I'm currently living through. You know, like it's not uh it's just I can see why you would want someone who doesn't have to deal with the queerness aspects of it to see how they feel about it. But I think even being able to relate to it, you can just tell how well the stories are being told. People are complicated and their situations are complicated, and I think they're doing a really good job in the show to kind of portray that.
One thing that Elena mentioned in the first episode, or maybe we had just talking, I've been talking offline, is that so she's really into like the hockey romance like space. And if
Yeah.
I were to read anything beyond this, like I would probably ask her, which one do you recommend? Because she has mentioned that like she particularly loves like this series because of the way that it's written is, I like, and this is okay. When she was talking about how the way it's written, because it doesn't like have the coming out as sort of like oh, it's a Disney written, coming out story where everything is like, oh, sunshine and rainbows after, I've triumphed and told people about my queerness. It's like it just doesn't suddenly like go away and we can like la 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 and whatever. And it's like I get that if that is like your type of book, for me, I would probably put that one down because I just think I've had a certain amount of lived experience that feels very, very fictional to me. And a lot of times, like, even if I'm reading fiction, I need a certain degree of depth to tie me into the real world because it would all, like, regardless of like how much it hits me or how far removed I am, I will have some sort of emotional response to something, and I rather it feel closer to reality to me in a sense. And so I understand what she's saying about like, particularly loving stories written where you kind of are still have some tie into like the real world, because it just feels it I think that type of queer representation feels like something that
feels more
I will
authentic.
just so so like with this series, it's, on one hand it could have been like, oh, we just focus on them being, it's the queerness or it's the rivalry. But the fact that there are so many like layerings of it within their identity, as you said, like we're not just like one or the other thing and just like so one dimensional, the way that we see several perspectives of folks within this space and how they're navigating all these layers of their identity, like going back to like, Shane being like half Asian. Like I've even gotten into conversations very briefly with folks about how they sort of read certain scenes where I see the representation, but then like folks say, oh, well, I didn't really see it. I can see why someone didn't see it, but I think because, as I mentioned with the book, even though it's mentioned that he's Asian, like it doesn't resonate with me throughout the book that he is at all. If anything, I tend to forget about it. But in the show, like there's so many little instances about it, but the fact that it is not about a story that is solely based on him needing to like, come to some climax in relation to him being Asian and an amazing player in a league that is predominantly white, like it's not solely based on that. So I feel like to not be overly emphasizing on it just like makes sense, because it's not the focus of it necessarily. There's so many other complex things happening, and yeah, it's just crazy. It's just so fun to like enjoy this.
It's been good, yeah. And this is like I said, like we've mentioned, I haven't read the books. I'm really enjoying the show. Will I read the books? Probably not. Like I'll be fine with the show. I
Right.
think they're doing a really good job with it. So if you guys haven't checked it out, y'all should try checking it out. But also like be prepared for some explicit scenes.
The episodes drop at 9 p.m. Western, West Coast Pacific time, and midnight Eastern Pacific time. So that just gives you a taste of like, this is not for the kiddos. This is after hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think even if you're like, if you're concerned that that's going to be somehow like a focus on it, I think again, if you're interested in it, in hearing a little bit about it, go check out our separate episodes reacting to it. We also talk in the first recording about those scenes and how we felt that even those scenes are done just so well. Of course, it's going to be, they are going at it, but it's not for the explicit moment of it. I think it's done in a way where it's very much like telling these coming of age and, things that really anybody who's gone through that experience, queer or straight, can relate to. And I think they do it in a way where it isn't just like, yeah, we're just going to see a bunch of like naked people just because that's what everyone came to see. Like, I'm here to see it, but also like it's not they didn't do it in a way where it's like, look at all you filthy people, like, so
Yeah. Oh my god. Can we transition to the next topic like with that? Speaking of naked people,
great segue.
Right. Okay. Well, I saw
You do have
share
to
this.
play this, but you don't have to do the audio.
Okay.
Just so it's like playing on the screen.
Right. Let me refresh it.
So I feel like this must have shown up on my feed, as I was saying earlier, how my like Instagram algorithm has been changing.
Okay.
So you good?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm good.
No
I was
worries.
just trying to see something.
Yeah, so while Ness is getting that set up, this is like a clip of a goaltender from the Huskies. It's a German-based German league team. And I don't actually know the context of what's going on. All I know is that the goaltender is stripping on the ice in terms of like he's taking off his goalie gear and he's already like go ahead. So he's already like the first half of his gear is off. There's a bunch of camera crew around. They eventually pan to like the audience and everybody's up out of their seat, like looking very intent. And then later on, they show his entire team is just hanging out at center ice. Everyone's just here for the show. And I'm just like, what is bro doing? And of course, he's like egging the audience on to like clap and cheer on. And then he ends up like laying on the ice to take off his goalie pants. And then eventually he's just kind of in his like long whatever, I don't remember. It's like pants, like goalie, the long form of goalie pants that go underneath, and he's just in that and his skates, and then he goes right back to his team and just like hangs out. So I don't know if this is like some tradition that they do at the end of the season or when they win, but my second thought was, I wonder how this would go if Askarov did something like this, because bro just seems like the type. He just looks the type that would be down for something like this. I don't ever see it happening, but this was just like so silly. And he just like playing it up to the crowd. He's like, yes, cheer me, like, taking everything off. And I just needed to share it with the world because I was like, what is this?
It's just a strip show, a goalie strip show. Apparently, according to this caption, he was injured for a while. And this was his first game back, and so this is the way that they were celebrating, like, that he was back. I don't know if they even won. It doesn't say. It's just that this is how they decided to.
They won the hearts of their fans,
and that's what matters. Oh, so silly. In other hockey news, Mr. Michael Buble. I feel like I've been hearing Buble's name a lot lately. With the Canucks struggling through their struggles.
They're in the basement. They are where we were last season. It is bad.
Yeah, and I think it's more so management's fault than it is the players. But I don't keep up with that team enough. But Buble has come out and said a few weird things this season about the team in defense or just whatever it is. But go ahead, tell us what he.
Yeah, so I saw this like I think last week is when this kind of like came about. I just saw this quote, and it's like a picture of Michael Buble, and the quote is in relation to Frank Seravalli, who writes a bunch of hockey related content. And it says, if Frank Seravalli is a Canucks insider, then the 40-year-old virgin was a porn star. And I'm just like, what is going on in Vancouver? And then I saw that he went on a podcast, and it escapes me right now what the name is, but it was a Canucks related one that is like I've seen it a lot in just passing by, so I think it's fairly popular. And they kind of had him on, and I think they had a discussion about this, or this is kind of where it came about. Because I think Seravalli, like I've kind of just stopped consuming his content. I can't remember why, but just the fact that Buble is going at him, I was just like, yeah, he maybe might have sort of deserves it. I don't know, just because I don't follow him anymore. And there's a very good reason a lot of times when I stop following people. And it's like, look, I get that like following the NHL as a whole, as your even if it is your job, it can be challenging. But at the end of the day, I mean, I only have certain F's to give about people I don't know. So, and then, that seems like the start of it. Like, I think he was like writing certain stuff. Oh, now I remember. Like, he went in more depth about on the podcast that he went on, where it was just like, I guess he was talking about the like sports media just kind of like living for the Canucks just being like so terrible right now, and somehow that's like better for sports media for them to be losing. So I don't actually know what he's alluding to, but apparently he felt the need to like take an extra jab or two at Frank Seravalli, for Frank Seravalli to come and like, give a jab of his own. And he said, I found it very odd. I guess in the end, I would expect nothing less of someone who has named one of his children after perhaps the NHL's most overpaid player, which I sent this to my friend. And then he was just like, that makes no sense. That's a terrible comeback. Frank Seravalli is stupid because, I mean, yeah, he's alluding to the fact that Michael Buble had named his kid Elias. And so he's saying, oh, like you named him after Elias Pettersson. And my friend's like, he had that kid before Elias Pettersson even like got on the team. Like, what are you talking about? And he's just like a terrible comeback. And he's just like, and now yeah. So, I mean, I just found this like hilarious because we're just so removed from like anything the Canucks. And I'm just like, right. I'm just like eating this up. Like, this is so funny.
The clapbacks.
It's just like, what is even happening over there? You know, like the meme of the cat that's standing on its hind legs and it's like looking over snow, and it's like, what the fuck is going on over there? And it's exactly how I feel about this.
We love drama in sports. Actually, it's like a soap opera. Speaking of, Ryan Leonard and Tony DeAngelo, they had a little thing happen on the ice a few games ago when the Caps were playing the Islanders. I think I saw something briefly about this, but I don't really know the details of what happened.
Yeah, so I came across this, and anything that has someone laughing at Tony DeAngelo, I'm just like, that's amazing. That is always the response you should have. That is exactly how you should interact with Tony DeAngelo. Just laugh in his damn face. Because I'll just go to this article. So 2 days after authoring a game-winning assist against Toronto Maple Leafs, Ryan Leonard was a menace in a physical way against the New York Islanders. Channeling his inner Matthew Tkachuk, Leonard managed to get under the skin of several players in the New York Islanders during the Washington Capitals 4-1 victory. And then, so his first sandpapery moment came from Tony DeAngelo in the first period. As Leonard threw a shot on goal, the Islanders defenseman came in and tried to land a big hit. Leonard, though, got his arms up and threw DeAngelo to the ice with authority. He then added insult to injury by trying to keep the defenseman on the ice by putting both knees on his back. I don't know about that part. A few seconds later, Leonard let DeAngelo up and then gave him another shove for good measure. Tony D didn't appear to like this much as he gave the grinning Leonard a two-hand shove to the chest, appearing to fall for the Capital Wingers' trap of trying to draw a retaliation penalty. But there were no calls on the ice, leading to DeAngelo then squared up to Leonard and began shaking his gloves, usually the signal that the player is itching for a fight. And Leonard met that consternation with laughter and disinterest. What an instigator Leno is. So I just, like I said, this is always the response that you should have with Tony DeAngelo. This man just, this sport sometimes, like, he should be gone, gone, gone. And he went, only to come back, back, back. It's like, please, I'm tired. And this is exactly how you should meet any of this. Just laugh and skate away, because
Nothing irritates someone more than when they're so angry they want to fight you and you just don't. It aggravates you more. Like, you got me to this point, fight me. And they're like, nah.
This reminds me of, remember a couple seasons back when someone was trying to get at Austin Matthews and he did the whole like trying to look at his jersey name. It is just like, bro, who are you? Like,
that's messed up. That's hella funny.
This is the same feeling I get from this.
That's good stuff, actually. I want to take this into some feel-good moments in hockey, outside of the drama. The Minnesota Wild, a couple weeks ago, hosted their Native American Heritage Day, the day after Thanksgiving, which I thought was really good timing. Honor Native American Indigenous folks around Thanksgiving is always seems like a very considerate thing to do. So they hosted the game. Okay, let me read the tweet for y'all. The Minnesota Wild posted this on tweeters. Sorry, X. I always forget. It's Twitter in my head still. We are hosting a historic first of its kind Ojibwe language game broadcast in celebration of Native American Heritage Day on Friday, November 28th. The broadcast will be available to stream on the FanDuel Sports Network, and the game will be called by respected language speakers. I am about to butcher their names, but I'm going to attempt anyway. Gordon Majigonayash Jordan, PhD, and Chato Ombishke Bines Gonzalez and James Gino Onde Buckholz. So 3 native men called the game in Ojibwe, I believe. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Ojibwe language. I didn't even attempt to catch this game because it's the Minnesota Wild. But I thought this was so cool because I have never seen anything like this before done through any sports. It's been done with Hispanic Heritage Nights. The Sharks do it. They have Spanish broadcasters calling the game and stuff. I've seen it done with the 49ers. I've seen it done with other hockey teams around the league. It's really cool. I've seen them do it for other Heritage Nights too. I just can't remember which ones. But I came across this post because Lexi LaFleur Brown retweeted it, and, you know, her opinion, she said, Ojibwe Moan is an endangered language. What a meaningful way to help preserve the culture and honor the Anishinaabe peoples. Hockey is good medicine. Hockey is indigenous. I don't know what this means, but she said she Megwech Wild. Megwech, I think, means thank you. I am actually, okay, really random time to bring this up, but I'm actually reading a book called The Firekeeper's Daughter, which I randomly stumbled upon at a bookstore one day. Saw that they had it on the Libby app. I'm listening to the audiobook whenever I'm working. And surprising, like, I didn't know what this was about. I just liked the cover. I wanted to read it, and it has to do with, like, the main character. She's like a hockey player, and her brother's into hockey, whatever. So there's like hockey involved in this, but they're located in Michigan, I believe. And so they'll like throw in some I still don't know the language, but like native language in there. And I think Miigwech is I think that was the one of the words in that book, and I think it means thank you. So some context, and the only reason I know that is because of this book that I'm currently reading. But yeah, this is cool. I like this. This is good stuff. This is one of the things like hockey does that makes me happy when they're being diverse. You know?
So I'm only really familiar with the existence of Ojibwe because Trixie Mattel, who's a drag queen,
Mm-hmm.
she is descendant of Ojibwe.
Oh, okay,
Um, yeah, tribe.
cool.
So yeah, so that's really the only reason why I know that.
Um, and then just to transition from there, I believe Abby Rock is also indigenous.
Indeed, she is.
Yeah, she is. Go ahead and talk about your girl.
Yeah, so you really do need to play that video though for our viewers here on the YouTubes because
Should I
Abby
play the
Rock.
audio?
No, I think it's fine if you just play it and then I'll talk about it.
Okay.
So we're always keeping up with hockey, and we're trying our best to also keep up with the PWHL. I managed to catch this game that Abby scored this on, and it was actually against her former team. I think her contract was up, and she ended up signing with Montreal. And in my heart, I was thinking, "Oh, that's a bummer," because, like, when they first launched this league, I've been a huge fan of Abby's from like the Olympics and the national team and things like that. So when I saw that she was signing with the Sirens, I was thinking, well, that just makes things all the better because I'm going to follow the New York team anyway. And then when she, moved on and was in Montreal, and I was like, well, she's still my favorite player. So I'm going to catch games, while she's playing for Montreal. And then when I watched this game and then she scored that, I had a moment where I was just like, oh, I guess I'm a Montreal fan now because it's just like I apparently have very little allegiance to like the New York team. And
Right.
Abby's just, doing amazing stuff. And I think this was like their first game. And then the fact that it was against her former team, it's just, and then in an interview, that she was asked about this, she was just saying that in the moment she was like, this is so stupid, why am I doing this? She just ended, she didn't have it in her mind, it just made sense in the moment, and then as she was doing it, she's just like, this is kind of dumb, like but she did it anyway, and it got past the goaltender, and it was crazy for, this game was in Montreal, so it's a nice like welcome to my game, Montreal. So I
Yeah.
think it was just like super fun how she went between the legs and, went far side on the goaltender, which immediately made me think
Spoilers.
about,
Let me
oh, my
play it.
bad. Well, go ahead and play it already.
I wasn't sure you were talking.
But yeah, so for folks that are listening to us, like, so we're pretty much just playing the footage of her making this goal. So definitely go ahead and like check it out. Um Yeah,
Crazy.
it's just like so fun. And so as I was saying, it made me think back to when Tomas Hurdle did this, and the classic remark from Jumbo being like, if I scored 4 goals, I'd get my rooster out too and whatever. And it's
Right.
how that was met with such like venom from like the men's side of hockey.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this guy, like how dare he be disrespectful. And granted, I didn't hear much beyond the interview post game with Abby and talking about her goal, but it's just like, yeah, that's fun.
Absolutely. This is the stuff that grows the game, you know? Like if the women, and I hate to compare, but if the women are playing more like the men's game is really popular. If you see the women scoring goals like these top dudes, these all-star elite players, I feel like that's going to bring more fans over to watch them too, you know? But that was a nice goal.
Yep.
Okay. I think we did pretty good today. We've been talking a lot. Just two recordings in one day. I think that's all we got, unless you got some last minute questions,
No. I just
concerns.
think if you haven't checked out our heated rivalry episodes and if anything that we chatted about in regards to it earlier has piqued your interest, then head on over.
Yeah. Let us know what you want to hear about too. Not just for those episodes, but this one too. Like we'll take recommendations. We want to make this enjoyable for y'all too. So other than
Definitely.
that, thanks for joining us. We'll catch y'all next time. I've been your host, Ness.
And I have been Jay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.